Hold on to your screens, because if you are a disabled veteran or you are supporting one, what the VA just did is going to save you months of waiting, thousands of dollars in headaches, and potentially unlock benefits you didn't even know were available. The VA has quietly, but fundamentally, overhauled its most critical paperwork, releasing 15 updated forms that are absolutely mandatory for every single claim filed right now. Using an outdated form is the fastest way to get your claim kicked back, sometimes taking you right back to the start line, wasting months of your life and your financial security. We are going to break down all 15, diving deep into the changes, explaining exactly why these new versions matter, and showing you the hidden traps in the new language. This isn't just a list. This is your essential roadmap to navigating the VA's new digital reality, starting right now with the biggest shift of all. The new standard is here, and it demands your attention. The first crucial point to understand is why the VA is updating these forms now. This isn't just bureaucratic busywork. It's a massive, long overdue transition to a fully digitized, faster, and theoretically more efficient claims system. For years, the VA has struggled with a hybrid paper-digital system, leading to slow processing times and rampant errors where paper forms were scanned and miscategorized. The updated forms across the board are designed to be machine-readable, meaning they fit seamlessly into the VA's electronic health records and claims processing software. If you try to submit the old version of any of these 15 forms, the system often rejects it immediately. Or worse, it gets flagged for manual review, which is the kiss of death for rapid claim processing. This shift represents the VA's commitment, whether you believe it or not, to reducing the backlog, and if you want your claim to move quickly, you must play by the new rules. The core theme across almost all these updates is simplification for the VA, but that often means a new level of precision required from you, the veteran. We are seeing changes in signature requirements, mandatory fields that were previously optional, and specific formatting demands that, if ignored, will derail your submission before a claims processor even looks at the substance of your injury. Pay close attention to the version date printed in the corner of the form. If it's more than a few months old, you need to download the latest version from the official VA website today. This foundational shift affects everything, but nothing is more critical than the form that starts it all. Let's talk about the big one, the cornerstone of almost every disability claim, the updated HAVA form 21526EZ, Application for Disability Compensation and Related Benefits. This form is the engine of your financial future, and the new version has hidden traps that veterans are already falling into. The primary change isn't in the questions themselves, but in the layout and the mandatory supporting evidence requirements, especially concerning the intent to file date. The new 526EZ forces you to explicitly reference your intent to file, ITF date, right at the beginning, ensuring the VA can correctly establish your effective date for back pay. Previously, this was often inferred or handled later. Now it's front and center. Failure to correctly identify and reference an active ITF can cost you months, sometimes years, of retroactive compensation. Furthermore, the section dedicated to listing specific claimed conditions has been significantly expanded and restructured. The VA is demanding more detail up front, specifically requiring the date of diagnosis, the location of the treatment, and a brief description of how the condition is service-connected, all on the form itself, not just in supporting documents. This shift moves the burden of proof slightly forward, asking the veteran to synthesize their claim earlier in the process. Veterans are making the mistake of putting "see attached medical records" in these fields. That is a critical error. The VA wants a concise summary right there. If you skip this or if you use vague language, the automated system flags it as incomplete, triggering a request for more information, which adds weeks to your timeline. The new 526EZ also clarifies the difference between an original claim, a new claim for an increase, and a claim based on a secondary condition using clearer checkboxes that reduce ambiguity. You must be meticulous here. If you are claiming an increase, ensure you only check the increase box for that specific condition. Checking Original Claim will confuse the system and potentially overwrite previous decisions. The sheer volume of information required, even in the EZ version, necessitates a line-by-line review. We're talking about ensuring that Section 3, the dependency section, perfectly matches the information you provide on the updated 21686C, which we will discuss shortly. A mismatch between these two forms is a common reason for the VA to pause processing. The updated form also includes enhanced security features requiring specific formatting for digital signatures. If you are submitting electronically, make sure your signature is compliant with VA digital standards, or you risk the VA declaring the entire application unsigned and invalid. This form is the gatekeeper. Master the new 526EZ, and you clear the first and highest hurdle. Moving on, let's tackle the crucial updates to the VA Form 21686C, Declaration of Status of Dependence. This form is deceptively simple, yet it directly impacts your monthly compensation rate. If you have a spouse, children under 18, or adult children still in school, this form determines the extra money you receive. The changes here are focused heavily on verification and fraud prevention, particularly regarding marital status and dependent children's schooling. The new 686C demands more explicit documentation of divorce decrees or marriage certificates, often requiring certified copies where previously photocopies might have sufficed. The VA is cracking down on outdated dependency claims. For veterans claiming dependent parents, the financial disclosure requirements have been significantly tightened. You must provide detailed, verifiable income and asset information for the dependent parent, and the new form includes sharper language regarding penalties for misrepresentation. The most significant change, however, is related to dependent children aged 18 to 23 who are attending school. The new form requires not just the name of the school and the expected graduation date, but now mandates the attachment of specific documentation from the educational institution confirming full-time enrollment for the current semester. This used to be a periodic check. Now it's often required up front with the claim or update. If that documentation is missing or generic, the dependency claim for that child will be rejected, and you will lose that portion of your monthly benefit until corrected. Think about the implications. If your child starts school in August and you file this form in July, you must ensure you have the school's official enrollment letter ready to attach, dated appropriately. The form is also much clearer about when a veteran must notify the VA of a change in status, such as a child graduating, getting married, or a divorce finalizing. The language is less ambiguous, emphasizing the veteran's responsibility to report changes within 60 days to prevent overpayment, which, as many know, leads to painful debt collection by the VA. The updated 686C is a declaration, and the VA is treating it with renewed legal seriousness. Every box must be accurate, every date precise, and the supporting documents must be immediately available. Now, let's look at a form that often determines whether a veteran can afford necessary long-term care. The FAR VA Form 2126A, Examination for Housebound Status or Permanent Need, for aid and attendance. This benefit provides substantial additional funds, but the application process is notoriously complex. The updated 2680 aims to streamline the medical evidence submission, but it places a higher burden on the treating physician. The new version features expanded sections where the physician must detail the specific functional limitations of the veteran, moving beyond simple diagnosis. It requires the doctor to clearly state why the veteran requires assistance with activities of daily living, ADLs, such as bathing, dressing, eating, or using the restroom, or why they are housebound. The checkboxes are more granular, forcing the doctor to choose specific limitations rather than general statements. This is designed to combat generic or boilerplate medical opinions. The VA is looking for undeniable proof that the need for aid is permanent and requires external assistance. Furthermore, the section regarding the location of care has been refined. If the veteran is receiving care in a nursing home or assisted living facility, the new form requires the facility's specific licensing information and contact details, ensuring the VA can verify the legitimacy and cost of the care being provided. Veterans must ensure their doctors use this new form. Submitting the old version, which had less detailed sections, will almost certainly lead to the VA sending a request back to the physician for clarification using the new form's criteria, causing a significant delay. The updated 2680 also includes a clearer section for the physician to justify the necessity of medication management or supervision due to cognitive impairment. For veterans suffering from severe PTSD, dementia, or TBI, this detailed section is critical for establishing the need for consistent supervision. The VA wants objective, measurable functional deficits documented here. If the doctor simply states the veteran is unable to care for self, the claim will stall. The new form demands the specifics. Veteran requires physical assistance, transferring from bed to chair due to instability and weakness documented in X medical record. This level of detail is the new expectation. Next up is an essential tool for every veteran filing a claim, the revised VAWA Form 214138, Statement in Support of Claim. While the 4138 itself hasn't undergone a radical structural overhaul, the context and usage of the new version are what veterans must grasp. This form is used to provide lay evidence, your personal testimony, or the testimony of a family member, friend, or fellow service member, to support your claim. The updated 41138 emphasizes the requirement for specific, factual statements and discourages emotional appeals or generalized complaints. The new form includes clearer instructions stating that the statement must relate directly to the claimed condition and must explain how the event occurred or how the condition affects the veteran's daily life. The VA is explicitly trying to filter out irrelevant or non-probative statements. A major trap is using the 4138 to submit medical evidence or legal arguments. The new instructions clearly state that this form is for factual statements only. If you are submitting a buddy statement, the new 4138 requires the affiant, the person writing the statement, to include more identifying information, including their relationship to the veteran and, if applicable, their military service details, branch, dates, unit. This helps the VA verify the credibility of the lay witness quickly. The updated form also includes a specific section where the affiant must acknowledge the penalties for making false statements, reinforcing the legal weight of the testimony provided. Veterans often fail to use the 4138 effectively. Instead of writing a novel, the new system rewards conciseness and directness. For example, instead of writing, "My back hurts all the time," the updated 4138 should contain, "Since the training incident on July 14, 2005, I have been unable to lift objects heavier than 10 pounds, and I require assistance bending over to tie my shoes, which I can only do for 2 minutes before severe pain forces me to stop." The revised instructions on the form are a guide to writing a high-impact statement. Using the new 4138 correctly is about quality over quantity. A single, factual, detailed page is worth 20 pages of generalized complaints. Let's shift gears to a form that affects veterans who travel for medical care. The VA Form 103542, Veteran Yearn Beneficiary Claim for Reimbursement of Travel Expenses. This form has been significantly simplified, reflecting the VA's ongoing effort to move away from paper-based travel claims. The new 10-3542 is heavily optimized for electronic submission via the Beneficiary Travel Self-Service System, BTSSS. The paper form now serves largely as a backup for those without digital access, but even the paper version is streamlined. The key update is the removal of several redundant fields and a clearer focus on the necessary documentation. The VA is now requiring less detail about the route taken, trusting the BTSSS system's mileage calculation, but it demands absolute clarity on the date and time of the appointment and the mode of transportation, EAGE, personal vehicle, common carrier. The trap here is that many veterans still try to claim expenses that are now automatically calculated by the system, leading to confusion. If you are claiming special transportation, e.g., ambulance, specialized medical transport, the new form demands immediate attachment of the invoice and a medical justification for that specific mode of transport. The new 10-3542 also clarifies the difference between claims for veterans and claims filed by a beneficiary or attendant. The signature block for the attendant is now more prominent and requires specific certification that the attendant was medically necessary for the trip. Failure to use the new form, which aligns its fields directly with the BTSSS data requirements, often means the claim is manually entered, slowing reimbursement significantly. Remember, the VA wants electronic submissions for travel. Use the new 10-3542 only if you absolutely cannot use BTSSS, and ensure every field is filled out with the precision required for digital processing. Next, we address the updated form for veterans needing immediate attention or facing financial distress. The SPEM BIVA Form 20-207, Appeals for Higher Level Review, HLR. While the 10-207 is primarily an appeals form, the new version includes a critical section related to financial hardship that veterans often overlook. The VA recognizes that the appeals process can take time, and for veterans facing homelessness, foreclosure, or imminent utility shutoff, speed is essential. The new 20-10-207 includes a prominent checkbox and a required justification field for requesting expedited processing due to financial hardship. This is a game changer, but it requires specific documentation. The new form instructs the veteran to attach evidence like eviction notices, foreclosure papers, or utility shutoff warnings. Simply checking. The box without attaching supporting evidence is insufficient and will be ignored. The changes to the HLR form itself are designed to make the appeal argument clearer. The new form forces the veteran to identify the specific error of fact or law they believe the previous decision-maker made. Gone are the days of vague appeals. The new 10-207 demands precision. The reviewer failed to consider the lay evidence provided on VA Form 214138 dated date regarding my inability to work. This focused approach is intended to speed up the HLR process by directing the reviewing officer immediately to the potential error. If you use the old form, which was less structured, your appeal argument might be lost in translation, as the reviewer is now trained to look for the specific error identification mandated by the new structure. Veterans must understand that the HLR is not about submitting new evidence. It is about arguing that the evidence already on file was misinterpreted. The new form reinforces this distinction through its required fields. This leads us directly to the replacement for the legacy Notice of Disagreement, NOD, the new structure utilizing the WAR form on PUNO 182, Notice of Disagreement. The entire appeals process was overhauled with the Appeals Modernization Act, AMA, and the 10-182 is the formal entry point into the Board of Veterans' Appeals, BVA, Legacy Lane. The updated form is crucial because it clearly defines the 3 lanes of appeal: higher level review, using the 20-207, supplemental claim using the 220995, and the BVA appeal using the 10182. The updated 10182 is much clearer about the specific BVA hearing option the veteran is choosing: direct review, evidence submission, or hearing. This is where veterans often make a critical mistake. If you choose direct review, you cannot submit any new evidence or have a hearing. The new 10182 forces the veteran to confirm this understanding. The form also requires the veteran to list every specific issue they disagree with, rather than a blanket disagreement. For example, instead of appealing the entire decision, you must appeal the decision on PTSD and the decision on tinnitus separately. The new form has dedicated space for this itemized listing. If you use the old No-D form, the VA will reject it as non-compliant with the AMA system. The updated 10182 also provides clearer instructions on how to submit additional evidence if choosing the evidence submission lane, specifying the 90-day window. The most critical change is the strict adherence to the one-year appeal deadline. The new form explicitly warns the veteran that the submission date is final, and any delay will result in the loss of appeal rights for that specific decision. The VA is attempting to eliminate ambiguity in the appeals process, and the new 10182 is the legal mechanism they are using to enforce the AMA structure. In the realm of finance and security, the VA has mandated changes to direct deposit information, covered by the updated VA Form 240296, Direct Deposit Enrollment. This change is driven primarily by enhanced security requirements and the move to the Treasury Department's updated payment system. The new 096 requires more explicit verification of the veteran's identity and banking information. While previous versions were sometimes accepted with minimal bank details, the updated form demands the full 9-digit routing number and the complete account number, along with the bank's official name and address. Crucially, the new form includes a specific section for veterans who are using prepaid debit cards or third-party payment systems, like certain fintech apps. The VA is requiring documentation from those institutions confirming they accept federal direct deposits, which was often a point of failure in the past. If you are changing your direct deposit information, the new form also requires a brief explanation for the change. Kyaubardiji, new bank account, closing old account. This is a security measure designed to flag potentially fraudulent changes. Submitting the old form can lead to a security hold on your payments, while the VA manually verifies the information, potentially interrupting your monthly compensation. The updated 0296 is non-negotiable for anyone starting benefits or changing banking details. It's a critical security checkpoint. Let's move to forms related to end-of-life planning and support, starting with the updated Form 21P5930, Application for Burial Benefits. This form is vital for surviving spouses or next of kin seeking reimbursement for funeral and burial costs. The new 530 is significantly streamlined, focusing on making the process faster for grieving families. The major change involves the documentation required to prove service-connected death or death while receiving VA care. The new form clearly delineates the three categories of burial claims: service-connected, non-service-connected, and plot allowance, and uses clearer checkboxes to guide the claimant. The most important update is the requirement for itemized funeral bills. While previous versions accepted general receipts, the new 530 demands a final itemized statement from the funeral home, clearly separating costs like transportation, casket, services, and plot fees. This precision is necessary because the VA has maximum reimbursement limits for specific categories, and the new form ensures compliance with those limits. Furthermore, the updated form clarifies the hierarchy of claimants. If a surviving spouse is not available, the form requires the next of kin to explicitly state why they are the rightful claimant, often requiring documentation like wills or letters of administration. The VA is trying to prevent multiple claims for the same veteran. If you use the old form, which was less specific about documentation, the VA will inevitably send a request for the itemized statement, dragging out the reimbursement process during an already difficult time. Closely related is the updated Shabai VA Form 21P 534EZ, application for DIC, pension, and/or accrued benefits. This form is the entry point for dependency and indemnity compensation, DIC, for surviving spouses, as well as VA pension for non-service-connected disabilities, and accrued benefits, money owed to the veteran at the time of death. The EZ in the title suggests simplicity, but the changes require heightened attention. The new 534EZ places a much stronger emphasis on verifying the veteran's cause of death, especially for DIC claims. If the death was service-connected, the new form requires immediate attachment of the death certificate and any private medical records linking the service-connected disability to the cause of death. The VA is no longer automatically seeking these records. The burden is placed on the claimant. For pension claims, the financial section has been drastically tightened. The new 534EZ requires detailed disclosure of the claimant's net worth, including assets like real estate, excluding the primary residence, stocks, and savings. The VA is scrutinizing net worth limits more closely than ever before. The form now explicitly asks for the date the assets were acquired and the current market value. A common mistake with the old form was vague reporting of assets. The new form demands precision, aligning with the VA's increased focus on means testing for pension eligibility. The section regarding accrued benefits, money the veteran was owed but had not yet received, is also clearer. The new form requires the claimant to list the specific benefits they believe were accrued, such as compensation, pension, or educational payments, reducing the ambiguity that often led to delays in releasing those funds to the survivors. Shifting to housing benefits, the updated HVA Form 26-1880, Request for Certificate of Eligibility, COE, for the VA Home Loan Guarantee Program is vital for veterans looking to purchase or refinance a home. The changes here reflect the VA's integration with digital records and the shift toward automated COE issuance. The new 1880 is shorter and focuses almost entirely on identity verification and service history. As the VA expects to pull most of the required data, such as prior loan usage, directly from its internal systems. The critical update is the mandatory inclusion of the veteran's full Social Security number, SSN, and the specific branch and dates of service. While this information was always necessary, the new form emphasizes that any slight inaccuracy will prevent the automated system from generating the COE, requiring manual review. For National Guard and Reserve members, the new 1880 requires clearer documentation of qualifying service, often demanding specific orders or discharge papers that confirm the minimum time in service requirement was met. The old form was slightly more forgiving of missing documentation, but the new digital process demands perfection up front. Veterans who already have a COE should note that the new 1880 must be used if they need a new COE due to a change in eligibility, e.g., restoration of entitlement after selling a home. Using the old form might lead to the VA requesting the updated version, even if the request is simply for verification. This form is the gateway to the most significant financial benefit for many veterans, and the new version requires meticulous data entry to ensure immediate processing. The education benefits landscape has also seen critical updates, most notably in the VA Form 22-1990, Application for VA Education Benefits, e.g., Post 9-11 GI Bill, Montgomery GI Bill. The new 1990 is designed to align with the VA's modernization of the GI Bill payment system and to better integrate with the educational institutions' enrollment reporting systems. The key change is the increased detail required regarding the veteran's educational history and career goals. The new form asks for a clearer statement of the specific degree or certification the veteran is pursuing and the expected date of enrollment. This is used to estimate eligibility and manage payments more effectively. For veterans transferring benefits to dependents, the new 1990 requires a much more explicit certification that the veteran has met the service obligation and that the dependent has been registered in the Department of Defense's Transferability of Education Benefits (TEB) system. A major trap is that veterans often forget to update their address and contact information on this form, which is critical for receiving timely updates and verification letters. The new 1990 is also clearer about the difference between applying for the benefit and applying for a change of program or place of training, which uses a separate but related updated form, the 22-1995. Using the new 1990 ensures that your application is processed through the current, faster digital pipeline, avoiding the delays associated with the older paper-based system that often required manual verification of service dates and transfer eligibility. For continuity of care, the updated Shower VA Form 10-5345, Request for and Authorization to Release Medical Records, CHAMBA, is indispensable. This form is used both by veterans seeking their own records and by VA providers needing records from external civilian providers, or vice versa. The changes here are driven by HIPAA compliance and enhanced privacy laws. The new 5345 requires a more explicit and time-limited authorization. Instead of a blanket release, the veteran must now specify exactly which records they authorize the release of, E1G, mental health records, cardiology, records, X-rays, and for what specific date range. This granular approach protects the veteran's privacy, but requires the veteran to be highly specific. A common mistake is checking all records, which on the new form can still be rejected if the date range is too vague. The new 5345 also mandates clearer identification of the recipient of the records, requiring the full address and contact information of the person or entity receiving the records. This prevents records from being sent to generic or outdated addresses. Crucially, the updated form includes a section where the veteran must initial to specifically authorize the release of highly sensitive records such as HIV status, drug abuse treatment, or psychotherapy notes. Without these specific initials, those records will be legally withheld, which can significantly impact a disability claim if the sensitive records are essential evidence. If you are filing a claim for PTSD or substance abuse, ensure you use the new 5345 and initial those specific authorizations. Finally, we arrive at the updated VA Form 21-0966, Intent to File a claim for compensation and/or pension, or survivor's pension and/or DIC. While not a claim itself, this form is arguably the most financially important document in the entire VA claims process because it locks in your effective date for back pay. The new 0966 is shorter, simpler, and focuses entirely on the timestamp. The VA has streamlined the form to encourage immediate electronic submission. The core change is the explicit language clarifying that the ITF is valid for 1 year and that a complete claim, like the new 21-526 EZ, must be filed within that 365-day window to preserve the effective date. The new form eliminates ambiguity about what constitutes a valid ITF. The only information required is the veteran's identifying details and a clear signature. The trap here is complacency. Because the new 0966 is so easy to file, veterans often file it and then forget the 1-year deadline. The updated form uses bolder language to remind the veteran of this deadline. Furthermore, the new 0966 clarifies that filing an ITF does not automatically mean the VA will start seeking evidence. It only reserves the date. The veteran is still responsible for gathering all necessary records and submitting the full claim package. If you are even considering filing for a new condition or an increase, Stop everything and file the new 210966 today, but understand that the clock starts ticking immediately. These 15 updated forms are not just minor revisions. They represent a fundamental shift in how the VA processes claims, emphasizing digital compatibility, mandatory upfront evidence, and increased scrutiny on verification. To recap the most critical takeaways, always use the most current version of the form, verified by the date in the bottom corner. Ensure your new 21526EZ is perfect and cross-references your intent to file date. Be precise with your dependency information on the 21686C. And for appeals, use the new 20-10207 or 10182 to clearly articulate the specific error of law or fact. The VA is demanding perfection in paperwork to achieve speed in processing. Your job is to meet that demand. Do not let months of effort be wasted by submitting outdated or incomplete paperwork. Download these 15 forms now, study the new required fields, and arm yourself with the knowledge necessary to secure the benefits you earned. Your financial future depends on this level of detail. Now go get what you deserve.